Bitcoin is at an absolutely critical level, but I think that a lot of people don't know why. You see, we had this prior swing high at about 44,500, which is exactly what we're battling with right now, and then we ended up swinging all the way down to the low $30,000 range, as we predicted on this YouTube channel, and those of you who have been subscribed will know all about that. Now, from that reaction rally that we were also looking for on this channel, we've ended up coming right back up to that prior swing high, but you can see that we've really been struggling, right? The market was moving pretty quickly at first. Let's measure this, right? The market, at from when it got its real nice leg up, managed to rise up by 15% in one day, which is absolutely huge, and then again by 10% in one day, so quite large moves there. But pretty much since we entered this $44,000 area, you can see Bitcoin really slowing down over these next 3.5 days, not actually managing to cover much ground. From the low to the high that we set today, we're up by about 7%, and this took 2.5 days, which is in stark contrast to how quickly we were rising on this leg up and on this leg up. And I think that tells us a lot about where the market is right now, right? The market is naturally struggling at this level right now, because if we get a confirmed real breakout above this level, that is going to officially mean, with, quite strong conviction. Right now we already have it. We've already managed to break that high, but not with conviction. If we get it with conviction, where it's very, very clear to see on the daily time frame, not with wicks, but with actual price explosions to the upside, that is really going to cement Bitcoin's position as being in a much healthier place right now. I think this is kind of like that final frontier in a sense at the moment, and what's kind of fun about this is that actually if we draw a box, we can see that there's quite potentially a challenging resistance area that Bitcoin's facing right now. I should actually just so that this makes more sense, I should stretch it all the way down to when we got rejected right here. And you can see that actually, Bitcoin was finding a lot of support in this range, starting from about 44,000 all the way up to about 46.5. And right now we're encountering a little bit of resistance in this very same range, which is totally fine. But here's the thing, is that I actually think we're doing fairly well. I want to talk to you about what might happen to Bitcoin if it manages to get that breakout and then potentially rise a little bit higher. I think it could be very, very exciting. And actually, quite interestingly, there is generally, with broad moves, an inverse correlation between Bitcoin and the dollar. Right now, as actually just hours before I made this video, I was looking at the dollar getting rejected from this area, which has already happened. And if you look at this on the 1 minute time frame, it's crazy. I want to show you something very, very interesting. The dollar has actually had, on the 1 minute time frame, very, very small time frame, has actually had a crazy, ignore that, has actually had a crazy inverse correlation with Bitcoin at the moment, where you can see this line is the dollar index and the charts is Bitcoin, and you can see quite clearly here actually how this might be the wrong chart. 1 second while I pull up the right one. No, this is correct. You can actually see quite clearly here how when the dollar dropped down, Bitcoin managed to get when Bitcoin dropped down, more specifically, because the dollar is bigger, let's say the dollar. When the dollar managed to rise up, you can see Bitcoin found a lot of weakness. But then, as soon as the dollar started to drop, Bitcoin starts really taking the reins in this market. And if I hide my camera, you'll also see right here that as soon as the dollar kind of bottoms out and Bitcoin and the dollar starts moving up again with this index, again, Bitcoin starts losing a little bit of strength. So very, very interesting inverse correlation. I actually want to show you an extremely long-term chart for the dollar right here. This is going to be pretty mind-blowing for a lot of people right now. This chart actually extends all the way back to, wait for it, to, I'm sorry, this is the wrong chart. It actually, when I pull up the right chart, it stretches all the way back to 37 years. Although I don't have that chart prepared, I'm very sorry, so I'll just show it to you on the, no, I have it right here. Sorry, bad prep. This chart right here is showing you the 98 point level on the dollar index. And if we measure this back all the way to 1986, very, very long time ago, this 98 area has been quite a strong area of resistance for the dollar for a long time, right? We've been flipping it as resistance and support on this dollar index beautifully for a very, very long time. And, no surprises, we're starting to find a little bit of resistance right here as well. If we look at this same level on my dollar chart live, I've got a similar, oh no, I don't have it outlined here, similar level. If I just outline it, bam, just right here at 98. You can see how we pretty much hit this range, right? We can just draw two yellow lines to show that it's just roughly between here, ignore the red lines, and right here the dollar potentially finding a little bit of resistance. So only until it potentially drops into this green box. This green box is support. It's acted as support only very recently, just in January last month. And so I would expect that if the dollar does manage to fall into this range, it could potentially find a little bit of support. This has also been an area of support for a long time, right? If we look at this same chart, it's the same box that I have drawn on my chart already. This time, the range stretching between kind of, yeah, just about 93, 94, somewhere around there, up to 95. You can see that this area has also been important for the dollar, triggering some quite key reversals throughout its price history right here. And again, you know, looking at what's going on in the market right now, showing us the very same thing right here, where the dollar could potentially find some support, which is interesting because it lines up with where my next areas of resistance for Bitcoin are. So take a look at this. If Bitcoin does actually manage to get a nice breakout to the upside right now, I think that what we could be looking at is something a little bit along the lines of this, where we end up kind of, and let's just go back to my Coinbase chart where I already have this drawn. Got the furry jacket on today. A lot of people have been asking for it, so you know it's back. Here's the thing, right? If Bitcoin manages to get a breakout and rise above some of these resistance areas, I wouldn't be surprised if we break out a little bit, perhaps up to 48, 49, and then come right back down for a retest. And this is where things can get very juicy, is that if we do actually get a retest right here, you know, we could be looking at a massive price explosion to the upside. And crucially, what that could also mean is that we end up having enough juice to rise up to the next prior swing high, which is right over here at $52,000. This is where things get very juicy, because naturally, you know, if the dollar is dropping, Bitcoin can rise with this inverse correlation that it's had for a long time. I mean, sometimes it completely doesn't have it, sometimes it does, but generally I think the trend is quite clear. The dollar inverse correlation is definitely there, and if we do end up falling into that support zone that I just showed you on the dollar again, let's take a look at this right here. If the dollar doesn't, I mean, this is a small move, right? Percentage wise, it's quite a small move, but if it does end up moving down into here, that can definitely, I think, allow Bitcoin to rise back up to that 52k range to capture a little bit of resistance and then drop right back down, perhaps looking something a little bit like this. And from here, it's a case of, do we break the resistance, do we break up, or do we break down massively? Because that could completely change the trend, right? If the dollar is very strong right here and it ends up capturing a bit of support in this range, it could try and challenge 98, 97 again. And best believe if it does challenge those areas and break it, I think Bitcoin's going to be in a very difficult position, right? Generally, when the dollar makes big breakouts like that, it actually is very bad for the market, and that could end up unfortunately playing some part in this market at the moment. But here's the thing, right? If we do end up breaking this range, it could end up being very juicy. We have a lot of support now because we've been consolidating. You know, one of the key things that you've heard me talking about on this YouTube channel is that, you know, what I wanted to see Bitcoin doing is rise up into these areas. And I'm not necessarily expecting a big rejection, but I would like to see some sideways consolidation. And that's exactly what we've been getting right now, which is absolutely phenomenal. And again, if we look at this on the 1 hour time frame, for example, right, like we've been bouncing off the 𝗓𝗔𝗥𝗙𝗦 very nicely. We've got EMA support right here from the EMA ribbon on the 1 hour time frame. We've even got it on the 4 hour time frame. Take a look at this. It's already been helping the trend a little bit. So this is showing this that, you know, I mean, on these shorter term time frames, momentum is very much on our side. It's important to take note of this, right? Because if you watched my earlier video, you'd actually know that, you know, I mean, I'm still being very cautious in this market. I mean, what I've said about being, you know, rising up from prior swing low and everything is still totally true. And so, you know, my midterm outlook for Bitcoin is I'm still being very careful, looking for where Bitcoin could end up capturing a little bit of resistance and then dropping back down, because naturally, you know, we haven't really broken this level yet. We are still in a downtrend, and we're just having a very extreme reaction to what has been a very extreme downtrend. I mean, you just have to expect these things to happen, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that the market is strong, the fact that we've managed to rise up so much, because the sell-off was so strong. And so I gave you guys an analogy in one of my recent live streams. Again, shout out to those of you who are hitting up the likes and staying subscribed to this YouTube channel. You'll know that one of the analogies I gave for this is almost like, you know, someone has wronged you massively. And I thought of an even better one, actually. It's like how Europe colonized a lot of Africa and then in exchange didn't give back all the riches that it stole. I'm not trying to make this political or anything. It's just a little bit of an analogy, which is actually a little bit more accurate than the one I gave in the live stream. Colonized all of Africa, took a bunch of jewels and gold and stuff like that, and in exchange gave back you know, a couple $2 billion in aid or whatever, and even that comes with massive strings attached. It's basically another way of saying that, look, the damage was very, you know, there was a lot of damage, and the recovery, like, it's going to take a lot to recover that, is my point. I mean, quite literally, right? I mean, in order to get from here where we bottomed out to here where we topped out, we need to pull roughly a 108% move, and we're only up by about 38% right now. So we, point blank, let's just cut the bullshit. We haven't done much yet. I mean, it's been a very extreme move, and in order to, like, seriously recover it, we'll have to be flipping key support levels, which I don't even know if we can do. It certainly looks like we might be on track for that right now, but like I said, I don't want to be holding my breath for stuff like that. And bottom line, like, that that is my midterm outlook. Like, it's still going to be staying quite cautious again, because if we look at things like the Fear and Greed Index, we're looking at a reading of 50, a reading of 54. I just think that these levels could be, I think they're a little bit too high. I think the market is getting a little bit too excited. But again, short term right now, we're really pushing it. We're really pushing it. Bitcoin is in one of its most common patterns that it forms when it's about to break out, right? Which is just that generally it's generally trading higher. It's not so clear if I paint a parallel channel, but generally what we're doing is we're moving up and then moving up slowly, getting ready to potentially blast off again. And the last time this happened was right here, where we actually formed it in a very, very clean way, where we formed a beautiful parallel channel that fit something a little bit like this. And actually, I want to remove this middle line because this is a little bit annoying now. I don't know how to remove it at the moment, so that is quite annoying right there. Let's turn it off. Potentially, ended up, well, it's not potentially, this actually happened. We managed to rise up, then continued rising up slowly, and then got a break up. And we're potentially just doing the very, very same thing again. It's a very common pattern for Bitcoin. And so, it's one of those things where if you know this, you can just expect it. And that obviously makes it potentially quite easy to trade and analyze. And of course, that does mean that we could end up looking at quite a substantial breakout to the upside, because this is the thing, is I think we're being capped right here. I think that we are really struggling at this resistance area. I mean, not even really struggling, it's only been a couple of days, but this is the thing, is that because this trend has been very quick and now it's slowed down, if we do manage to get a breakup, we could be looking at a very, very big one. Of course, the same goes for the opposite direction, but I think that the good news for Bitcoin is that it has so much support if it ends up dropping down. I've been talking about this for quite some time now, where actually the 40k area was, in my opinion, the strongest resistance area that Bitcoin would have to face in a very long time. And actually, it made very quick work of this resistance area, which, to be honest, was very impressive. And so if we do end up falling back into this range, I don't think it would be long until Bitcoin manages to capture a little bit more support. And if we throw in the Ichimoku cloud, you'll actually see that this lines up perfectly with where my Ichimoku cloud is approaching Valentine's Day, where if Bitcoin is able to drop down into this range, the 40 to 42k area, this can actually offer quite a little bit of very, very nice support on the Ichimoku cloud before then moving up. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen. At the moment, it looks like it is really trying to push to the upside, and short term, like I said, it's still strong. Midterm, look, like I said, midterm, it's in a very, very dangerous place. I'm being extremely cautious right here, but it is still definitely very, very entertaining to be watching. Take a quick look at the altcoins. Ethereum, again, finding resistance at my very same resistance line. If I extend it out, picture perfect. Very, very impressive. Those of you who have been tracking my Ethereum analysis will know this very well. I've been trading it in VIP as well these months, and it's been going pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let's take a look at some of the other altcoins, though. I want to take a brief look at Cardano against Bitcoin. I'm only interested in these coins against Bitcoin at the moment, because if it's going to underperform Bitcoin, I don't want to be in it. And that's why I scaled back my Ethereum position well before this dump even happened. And actually, perhaps a little bit too far, because I actually scaled back my Ethereum position right here, and it ended up rallying up quite a bit higher, but it did find resistance where we were looking for. I'm still looking for Ethereum to lose a little bit more strength against Bitcoin, and the good news is that this can happen if Bitcoin is rising and if Bitcoin is dropping, right? This is just one of those times where the market is so volatile. Not so much in a good way, and that generally means that altcoins get dropped really hard. I mean, that's why we've seen, Cardano and Ethereum are one of the better, two of the better altcoins in the market, but other ones have been absolutely obliterated, right? I mean, I think if we take a look at Solana against Bitcoin, for example, we'd see quite a clear sell-off right here. Yeah, look at this. I mean, how from its recent highs, let's say, just kind of let's take middle of January down to where it is right now. It's lost fucking 30% of its Bitcoin value. And again, we compare this to Ethereum, right, from the same time. If we look at kind of mid-January to where it is now, it's only lost 10% of its value against Bitcoin. If we look at Cardano from the same time frame, Cardano has actually been smacked down pretty hard, because Cardano had a massive rally. So I think this is going to be the exception. No, it's actually dropped still by less than Solana. It's just one example. I mean, Solana is one of very, very many. XRP, it's funny, managed to pull off a really big pump, didn't do anything with it, potentially forming a bull flag right now. But, I think a lot of these altcoins are potentially in quite dangerous positions. I'm curious to see where Link is against Bitcoin as well. Man, just falling through the fucking floor as well. Look at that. It's down by 40%. You're going to see these kind of massacres. I mean, this is the reason that I mainly like to stick to the major coins, because they just don't have this level of volatility. I mean, from the same time frame, Ethereum, like I said, has only dropped by about 10%, whereas Link has dropped by 40% against Bitcoin. You're still losing money against the dollar, but you're even losing your Bitcoin. So you're losing twice, and it's a really, really bad position to be in. I just don't like to trade that way. And this is one of the things that I make very clear in VIP, where people can actually watch me trading in real time right as I execute my trades. Also, of course, if you want to know where I trade, I do it all on Bybit. It's linked in the description down below. And you get some free cash when you sign up using my link down below and make your first deposit. So definitely take advantage of that if you want some free money in this market right now at the moment. As for what's next for Bitcoin, though, like I said, one of the key things that I'm looking for is seeing if we can manage to rise above this area and flip it. I think it's going to be quite an explosive breakout. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw high 40s very quickly, 48, maybe even 50. But I would still be looking at capturing a little bit of resistance before coming back down, hopefully to find support. If we can flip this area as support, we're running, we're winners, we're all going to make it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. If that doesn't happen, it's not going to be so positive in my opinion. I think that if we do manage to rise up, capture a little bit of resistance here, and then fall through this floor, yeah, I mean, we will still have support at 40 to 42, like around over here. We will still have this area of support to potentially save Bitcoin and then allow us to rally higher. And actually, it could turn out to be a good Fibonacci retracement level, but I would not be super optimistic at that point, unfortunately. So that's where I'm standing in the market right now. Just a quick little update, 15-minute video, not super long compared to my other videos. But if you did enjoy this one, do me a favor and smash up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.